Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at how the demigods of Slain live. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. A hard blow. You hit the ground. Your small arms and legs tremble. You struggle greatly just to stand again. With the last of your strength, you pull yourself up using your scythe and take up your fighting stance once more, only to be hurled across the room by yet another strike. This time, your opponent doesn't wait for you to get up. As you barely manage to sit upright again, a powerful kick hits you square under the chin, and once more, you're on the ground after soaring through the air. Your body can't take it anymore. Your mind longs for rest, for peace, for even a spark of comfort. But you know none of that will be granted to you by your opponent. No rest, no peace. Only the fight. Instinctively, automatically, you angle the shaft of your scythe to block the next kick, only for your opponent to twist on their heel and brutally strike your ribs, which immediately break. You taste blood, and breathing becomes nearly impossible. Your limbs become numb, your ears ring, and your tear-blurred vision feels as though you were using one of your ancestors' toys, a small rectangular device that through glass and magic you don't understand can capture the world within that rectangle. Without moving a step, the device can zoom closer or farther away from what it sees. And right now, you feel as you zoomed out far too quickly, the world spins, and you no longer know which way is up and which way is down. "Stop!" a voice calls from the sidelines. You know that voice. It belongs to the only person who truly cares for you, the one who comforts you when you cry, who gives you your favorite food, who makes you feel warm and safe. "Stop! She's still just a child!" Your mother, in a calm, cold tone, tells the maid, the very person who has cared for you since you can remember, to stay out of it. She says the training is important and that you are strong enough by now to endure even a resurrection spell if necessary. And after you have been healed, after the fatigue and pain have left your body, it will all start again from the beginning. You know your mother doesn't love you. She never had. She's only doing her duty to the state, to her ancestors, just as you must do yours. Keep fighting, learning, losing, and keep becoming stronger. More and more power, that's what matters in this world. You know you have to show strength, not for yourself, not for your country, your bloodline, and certainly not for your mother, but for your maid, who would otherwise worry about you. And so, scythe in hand, you go back into the fight and you wake up. The dream and the trauma once again fade into the back of your mind, though faint tears can still be seen at the corner of your eyes by a keen observer. The woman standing before you is someone you have fought besides and against through life and death. A fellow member of the Black Scripture, just like you, and yet so distant. You vaguely remember striking her down once to humble her arrogance and keep her in check, as you have done so for a century. Her voice trembles, her words come out hastily, she acts submissive and afraid. Her codename is Infinite Magic, a powerful caster who floats upon her magic orb. And that orb is hers, as is the rest of her outfit, for as long as she can still fight with it. After that, another member of the Black Scripture will inherit this artifact, a relic of your very ancestors, the 6 great gods who founded your homeland, the Theocracy of Slain, 600 years ago, and saved humanity from otherwise certain extinction. You would like to speak with her as an equal, to connect, to exchange thoughts, but to her, You are an object of pure terror, a demigod who commands fear and respect. With many of your other team members, you've managed to rebuild somewhat normal, collegial relationships, but she still fears you. And now it is revealed to you, after more than 100 years, you will finally have the opportunity to avenge your mother, your homeland, and first and foremost, your loveless childhood. The man who kidnapped and violated your mother is now your next target. You will go behind enemy lines, infiltrate the royal palace of the hated elves, and eliminate their king, Demigod, your own father. With a graceful hand movement, you adjust your hair so that it once again hides your long pointed ears. Your shame would be far too great to be seen as a half-elf, even though your colleagues already know what you are. You kneel before the cardinals of your nation. Each cardinal represents not only one of the 6 sects, earth, wind, fire, water, light and darkness, into which the Theocracy is divided by faith, and yet united through it. Each of these 6 faiths within the Theocracy's pantheon worships not only a god, but one of them also worships one of your ancestors. You are born of their bloodline, and you have awakened that blood within you. With their divine artifacts upon your own body and their spear in hand, you fight at the vanguard of the strongest human force there is, against monstrosities that could otherwise destroy not only your homeland, your faith, and your bloodline, but the entirety of humankind itself. You set out to eliminate an undead threat that has once again begun to stir. Elder Coffin Dragonlord. Your route will take you and the Black Scripture past the city of Irantel, an outpost of a hopelessly corrupt kingdom, and the place where a traitor from your own ranks, Clementine, seemingly currently hides. She is powerful, but no match for you. In truth, nothing can harm you. No one but your own kind has ever been able to defeat you. And Antilene Heran Fosh, a godkin older than your father, has never once lost to you either. But other than them, only the dragons seem to be a true threat to your own kind. And as usual, she will not accompany you. She will stand guard, protecting the powerful relics of your own ancestors. But all the other members of the Black Scripture also carry divine relics upon their own bodies. And you are further supported by a Wield-of-a-World item, Downfall of Castle and Country, a weapon capable of putting any being under complete mind control. Even an undead dragon would likely be powerless against it. And so, a mighty enemy could be turned into a mighty ally, perhaps one strong enough to restore the Theocracy's full foreign political power and agency. For you know of Antilene's strength, yet because of the Platinum Dragonlord's pressure, the Theocracy has not yet been able to unleash its most powerful weapon, even though there has been a constant war with the elves for as long as you can think. And with these thoughts in mind, you set out, at the head of your very own troops. The slain Theocracy at the beginning of the 6th century, after the arrival of the 6 players who found it slain and who saved humanity from otherwise certain destruction, was in a precarious position. Even before the arrival of Ein Soul Gone, chaos burned brightly in every corner of this world. The Dragon Kingdom under Draudilon Auriculus was repeatedly invaded by the Beastmen. Their incursions, at least thus far, had always been repelled by one of the scriptures. But again, they attack. They raid, pillage, and devour humankind. The Riestal's kingdom had become so corrupt and incompetent that the Theocracy had to help the Empire conquer it before its decay, crime, and neglect dragged all of humanity down with it, all while avoiding conflict with Arkland and its dragon counselors. At the same time, the Theocracy waged a war lasting for over a century by now against Zeshi's father, the elven king Demigod and his kingdom, who had defiled and violated her mother. That act destroyed whatever fragile trust once existed between elves and humans, a trust that had previously been considered unshakable. Thus, Slane no longer had the strength to deal with the other demi-human and heteromorphic threats along the Holy Kingdom's borders. To make matters worse, Clementine defected from the Theocracy and joined a cult of the undead, Zurnon, which she had probably served all along. And so, even before Ain's arrival, the Theocracy was already in full crisis mode. Within this context, it becomes clear why Zashi never truly had a childhood, why even if her mother had loved her, their childhood would have only been a preparation for battle, for war, until her end. Her strength is something that Slane must constantly and relentlessly use for humanity's survival, and at the very least as a powerful deterrent. To keep the treasures, to keep the artifacts, the day-affected relics of your own deities safe from outside threats and from traitors from within. Without the two godkin serving in the Black Scripture, it would lose a massive portion of its combat power. They are absolutely vital. Just for context, when the Black Scripture is at full strength, it also includes Zashi, the extra seat of the Black Scripture, and its captain, the younger godkin, who always reminded me a bit of Vayne Solidor from Final Fantasy XII. And a being around level 88, and a godkin who, according to Sheltier's admittedly blurred memories, for she was lost in a blood frenzy state at the time, was stronger than Solution Epsilon, one of the Pleiades battlemates and a skilled assassin, are a force to be reckoned with. A force that would even be a threat to perhaps one of the Floor Guardians. After losing the last of its original players, the so-called God of Death, Soshana, an overlord with a character build similar to that of Ainsul Gorn himself, the Slane Theocracy now needs every spark of fighting strength it can muster to keep humanity's enemies in check. Only when Platinum Dragonlord became occupied with Ainsul Gorn did Slane finally dare to send Zashi against the Elven King Decem-Hugan, because otherwise Platinum Dragonlord might stir, might intervene, might attack, and spell the end for the true defender of humanity, for without it, humanity would most certainly fall and be devoured by its many enemies. And without all of these overlapping crises, Slane would probably be working alongside the Riesta's kingdom to at least purge the Hills of Rebellion, or to finally push back the Beastman kingdom once and for all. But the sheer fragmentation of humanity forces the Theocracy to keep relying on its demigods, and the state has likely done so for at least half a millennium. Because one crisis follows the other. And interestingly, the Slane Theocracy has also succeeded in something that the Elf King Decem-Hugan failed to ever achieve, the awakening and the preservation of the divine bloodlines. For where Decem-Hugan had countless children, probably several thousand, only Zashi, who grew up in the Theocracy of Slane, became a godkin, capable of realizing her full potential. All the others remained roughly below level 30, despite their vast numbers. So all of the offspring of the Elf King, other than Zashi, was pathetically weak compared to her. In comparison, the leader of the Black Scripture, a full-blooded human if you discount the God's Blood part, let it slip in a conversation with Zashi that he will soon marry, and he will not take a harem of women, but at most 2 of them, to preserve the bloodline. In other words, Slane has somehow gathered and applied so much knowledge about the awakening and the awakening process of the divine blood that over the centuries it has managed to preserve those lineages and repeatedly produce powerful godkins, beings capable of defeating monstrous enemies single-handedly. And again, the power of these godkins cannot be overstated in the context of the New World. Through their rigorous training and their seemingly high level cap, they have developed a strength that can even make mighty dragons tremble in fear and sheer terror. For instance, the frost dragon Olasir Dark Halil Jarl was able to gather a harem of other dragons and sire dozens of children, essentially the Rudius Gererat among dragons, and he had only reached level 46. Even so, through his power, his brood, and his subjugated people, the Quagoa, he brought the dwarves to the brink of extinction, and had he succeeded, he would have greatly expanded the vassal kingdom under Periuru, claimed a new horde, or possibly found finally the key to the dwarves' treasury vault. And he did all of this to defeat and subjugate the frost giants, with whom the ice dragons had been at war since ancient times. Bit by bit he could have seized control over all of the Elysian mountains. And if not he, then in time his descendants might have also conquered the empire of Baharut. By contrast, Fluda Paradane managed to defeat a single Death Knight, only because he and his students could fly, while the Death Knight could not. And of course he lacked also the ranged attacks necessary to shoot them down. And a Death Knight is just a level 35 being, though admittedly a tough one. And yet he, Fluda, the mighty Triad Wizard, was so powerful that he had single-handedly saved the Empire on multiple occasions. But none of these mighty beings would even come close to matching the young godkin who leads the Black Scripture. Equipped with the armor of his ancestors and supported by the Black Scripture, he and Zashi together could wipe out hundreds of Death Knights and Soul Eaters. And just 3 Soul Eaters had once been enough to annihilate nearly 100,000 beastmen. In other words, the two godkins could easily conquer nearly any other nation, or at least destroy any army militarily. It's not the lack of strength that endangers Slayn, but rather the sheer number of simultaneous crises it always had faced. If fully unleashed, the Black Scripture could sweep the battlefield clean of the invading beastmen, and as mentioned earlier, it's this immense strength the godkins possess that turns their entire lives into a single endless battle, from their brutal training in childhood, through constant deployments, or guard duty, or until the day they grow too old and too weak to fight. This burden, this kind of life, demands a terrible price, and even Zashi's loyalty had been tested by it. She has often wondered for whom she actually fights, for her treatment at the hands of Slayn has not been kind. She has no strong emotional attachments, not to her homeland, not to her comrades, and her profession as enforcer brings her no joy, since her power and status force her to keep the other members of the Black Scripture in check all of the time. Because of this, Zashi has often asked herself what she is really fighting for. It was only after she was nearly annihilated by Mara's strongest spell that she made the decision to fight for her country and for humanity before passing out. In other words, someone like Renna might well have been able to make her switch sides without a fight at all. As for what Zashi's life will likely be under Ein Soul Gone now that she had been captured, that can only be speculated upon. But this is what life is like for the godkins of the Theocracy of Slayn, a life of service. In service of humanity, of the state, and their very own bloodline, the gods of Slayn themselves. And with that said, now it's your turn. What's your opinion on the topic and on the video? Let me know it down in the comment section. And while you're typing, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to all Patreons for supporting this channel, and as usual, I say my special thanks
ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon S, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Din Pep, Dragonlord Placidus Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralshivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Haster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Le Louche Britannia Viffy Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lofrazer, Meruvek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R., Michael Y., Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pentum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.